Hello, I'm John Stapleton and welcome to a new series, The Other Side, where we take people with opposing moral and ethical viewpoints, throw them together and see if they can see the other side and just maybe meet somewhere in the middle. And tonight we're asking, is society too lax about sex? Is prostitution a necessary evil? Is it okay to lust but not to touch? Coming up, a sex expert investigates the world of high-class escorts.
Do you feel exploited?
I don't feel exploited at all. The guys that call me up, they think they're making a choice by wanting to see me, but ultimately the choice is mine.
And we go down to street level to the world of punters, pimps and drug-dependent prostitutes.
I think they're sick, dirty old men and they think it's nice to shag a pregnant woman. Disgusting.
And to talk about that, we've got psychologist Dr. Linda Papadopoulos, the Reverend Richard Coles, who was in the pop group The Communards before he took the cloth, columnist and commentator Carol Malone, also the Labour MP Dan Abbott, a Catholic priest to the stars Father Michael Seed, and Rebecca Dakin, a semi-retired escort and now the author of a book and the subject of our film. We sent sex expert Tracy Cox out to meet Rebecca on her own ground.
The oldest profession in the world, prostitution. It's always been with us. I suspect it always will be with us. But it's also a world that's riddled with drugs, with danger and betrayal. But on the street isn't the only place to buy sex. These days it's easier to go online, and there you will find sex workers under the sanitised heading of escorts. No grubby street corners or up against the wall sex here. This is a world of high-class hotels, gourmet meals before the deed is even done, and sometimes no sex at all. It seems safer. It's not even illegal because there's no soliciting. But is it wrong? Well, that's what I'm here to find out. Rebecca Dakin has spent most of her adult life working as an escort. Her first client paid her a whopping £800 in cash, and she's never looked back.
When I tell people that I work as an escort, have one of two reactions. It's either a conversation starter or a conversation killer, one of the two.
She agreed to meet with me to reveal for the first time on TV her experiences in the underground world of escorting. I'm not quite sure what to expect. Rebecca, I think most people's view of prostitution is that people are either forced to go into it or they choose to go into it, and for you it was a choice.
Yeah, well, I chose to become an escort.
Okay.
For me, the two things are different because the prostitute is just paid to have sex, whereas an escort is paid for the time and, you know, has dinner and wined and dined.
Okay. Do you feel any guilt, like knowing that, you know, there's a wife at home with kids? Does that not get to you sometimes?
I don't feel guilty because it's not my relationship. I do feel sorry that, you know, that for the whole relationship that he's obviously not getting what he wants out of it and he's had to go elsewhere.
So you feel sorry for him rather than feel sorry for her?
And for her. Yeah. I'm not condoning that it's right for guys to see escorts. I'm saying in some situations it's right.
So you wouldn't like to go out with a man who went to see an escort?
No, definitely not. I'd make sure he didn't. Make sure I keep him happy, make sure I didn't.
But not everyone approves of what Rebecca does for a living. Anna from the organisation Object says Rebecca's trade is just a sanitised version of a profession that is old, ugly and wrong.
I think it's a bit of a myth that prostitution is actually about sex. I think prostitution is about power and control and dominance. Women get involved in prostitution for numerous reasons, not because they want to sleep with every single man.
Isn't it more honest for a guy who is only out for sex to go and see a sex worker than it is, you know, pick up a girl in a bar, buy her a drink, lie to her that he's going to call the next day and have sex with her?
Prostitution's a much bigger issue because it's based on the idea that it's acceptable for women to be bought and sold as sexual commodities, and I think that in itself is something that we need to challenge.
So what sort of guy pays for it?
Studies show that actually it's your average guy, that guys who pay for women in prostitution often have relationships already. And actually, to demonstrate the fact that prostitution is actually more about power and dominance, is often men will actually be more likely to pay for women in prostitution who are actually completely off their face and out of it.
Well, that's certainly not sex, is it? Rebecca has agreed to meet me in her hotel room. I'm quite disturbed by what Anna has told me, and I want to know what Rebecca's take is on all this. So, Rebecca, I've just come back from talking with Anna, and a lot of what she had to say was incredibly disturbing. She basically said, well, you know, like women like you who actually choose to be in this profession are such a minority, and the majority is the absolutely nasty, awful end that we all want to see put a stop to, which is street-level prostitution. How do you position yourself with that?
No, I mean, it's totally different, and it's not an area that I know anything about, street prostitution. I'm aware that there's girls that are being trafficked, but I don't know anything at all about it.
Object says that prostitution exploits women. Do you feel exploited?
I don't feel exploited at all. The guys that call me up, they think they're making a choice by wanting to see me, but ultimately the choice is mine. I choose whether they are somebody that I want to spend time with and that I think I can give a nice time to.
When you do settle down and have a family, will you tell your kids this is what you did?
I haven't really thought that far ahead about that. I'm not really sure.
Because you're quite a contradiction. Like, in one way you're saying there's nothing wrong with what I'm doing, yeah, but yet you're saying I wouldn't want to go out with a guy who was hiring escorts. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to anyone. I don't know if I'm going to tell my kids. I mean, how do your mum and dad feel about it?
Well, my mum and dad were obviously disappointed when I said that that's what I was going to do, and I think they actually thought that it probably wouldn't work out. They don't agree with it. They accept it.
Morally, no problems with it? No conscience? Nothing playing on your mind, you're able to sleep at night, there's no...
Yeah.
This has been an incredibly interesting experience. Whether there's anything wrong with what Rebecca does, I do take on board her point that, you know, what's the difference between getting drunk, you know, going out, pulling with your mates and coming home with somebody that you have no idea what their name is? Is there a difference? The fact that she's actually charging for it, I don't know, somehow does make it different. Rebecca does a fantastic job of saying, you know, there's nothing wrong with her profession. On the other hand, she doesn't want to go out with a guy who sleeps with an escort. She doesn't think she'd tell her children. I get a sense that she's not as cool with it as what she makes out. Talking to Anna, though, I mean, some of the things that she said I found incredibly disturbing about what is happening out there. And there was one thing she said which has completely stuck with me and thrown me, and that's when she said that lots of guys actually want the girls who are really out of it, and that it's not about sex, it's about power, it's about subservience, it's about dominance, and I think that really turned my stomach.
Well, there we are. As you can see, Rebecca is with me now. You're now coming out of the escort business. You've written a book about your experiences. But let's pick up that final point made by Tracy there, that what you did was really all about male domination, about making you subversive.
I don't feel that at all. As I said in the film, I actually make the choice to see the people, build up a bit of a rapport with them. I never let anybody treat me badly. I insist on being treated with respect. And I think people only treat you badly if you let them. And I think this is kind of where the differences can be between the prostitution and escort. I mean, the prostitutes are just being treated in any way, and they've got no self-respect. And you know, I feel like I have got self-respect for myself, and that's why I'm not kind of anti-men or anything like that.
Well, let's pick up that point, Carol. I mean, she says she's not a prostitute. She wasn't a prostitute. She was an escort. Do you see a distinction?
No, I don't see it like that. With the greatest respect to you, you know, you charge more, you wear better clothes, and you don't meet men on street corners, you meet them in posh hotels. But you still take money for sex. And you just said now there that you were in control. You're never in control. How can you be? One of the reasons that you are now semi-retired is because you had an experience with a Frenchman in a bedroom who frightened you so much that you gave up doing it full time. You said, and it's true, I'm afraid.
True?
It is true. It's in the newspaper, and you sold your story to... You can, but I'm just saying that you said it in the newspaper, and you sold your story, and you said that he frightened you so much that that's when you got out of it.
That experience happened to me 4 years ago. Yeah. So I had 4 years. I've carried on working. It's not correct that that's the reason why I stopped escorting.
Okay, well let's not pursue that point. But there was a bad experience, but you did carry on. Let me ask you, Father.